I was talking with somebody earlier. He was like, hey man, I'm going through this entrepreneurial thing and I feel like I'm not making progress. Like, I did get a new account. I am like learning, but it just doesn't feel like I'm moving.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I think we miss that learning doesn't always feel good. It's the product of learning that feels good. Like the fruits of our labor is what we a lot of times do things for, but the actual process, the labor process, isn't gonna feel good. If you go to the gym and you work out, the workout doesn't feel great. It's the endorphins after, and then the eventual progress towards getting the physique you like, or the healthy state, or like the clarity of mind that you get, but it's not the actual labor or the work that feels
exactly. And that's, so many people want that overnight success where they can just sleep through the hard work and just say, oh yeah, I woke up and everything was handed to me.
These people, they don't understand. No, but like I 100%, it's like that. But I think it's also like knowing that. I might have taken for granted that that's not.
We are back.
Yo.
Another Founders Drive.
What up, doe?
Hey, howdy.
Hey, welcome back to Founders Drive.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. We've had a really good week, it feels like.
I feel like we've been so productive. Like, I'm looking at the things that we have slated to go out in terms of guest functionality, checkouts, chat, and like the agentic stuff that we're doing right now. And I'm like, that is a list of a feature release if there is one. But I think what's so dope is that it's gonna enable so many other people to take advantage of what we're doing. It's gonna allow us to really push and funnel people into a space where they can take advantage of the things that we're doing immediately, and not just the from the business standpoint, but the technology standpoint. You're gonna be able to play with some of the agents that we're doing in a unique space that I think will be very helpful. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, and so look out for us promoting this stuff, not just on here, but on our socials, on the other channels that we have. We'll be definitely promoting that stuff.
Yeah, and for the people that are unaware, Constance is the platform that we're building. That's the platform that we founded. It is a platform that helps people organize and monetize their creativity. Right now, people feel scattered, and there's so many things changing, especially with AI and especially in the technology space. And so being able to leverage your creativity and turn that into something that you can monetize is the skill that I think everybody should have, and we want to help as many people uncover that as possible. So check out constance.com and look out for the updates.
Link in the description below as well.
Ooh, cool. So
this week,
you were telling me the story about
bro, I had this wild interaction recently with somebody where we were talking about some of the tech we use. I think we were like on a Discord call or something. And they wanted to know how to turn an option on or off. And I didn't know how to do it off the top of my head. So I just said, like, hey, like, did you try Googling it? Did you try looking it up? Did you try even, putting in the basic amount of effort to try and answer your question? And this person's response was, I just don't like Googling things. What? What do you mean?
I don't like doing that.
I just don't like Googling things. And it told me so much about the person who I pretty much just met. Yeah. More than I would have needed to know.
What did it tell you?
I mean, are you kidding me? I just don't like to Google things.
Yeah, man, I just don't like Googling it.
You are limiting your access to free knowledge and just so many things just by typing into a Google search bar and going down like at least one rabbit hole of finding information, finding something you probably didn't know. Like if you're not Googling stuff, or even just like doing any kind of research, you're limiting yourself to what you know right now, which is obviously more limited than what's on the internet and what's available in the world.
Yeah, my knowledge cutoff is high school, and I don't have web search capabilities.
Yeah.
Well, I do, but I just don't like doing that. So
it blew my mind how close-minded so many people can be when the technology has been around for couple decades.
You know, I have this theory
Yeah.
that IQ drops off because we stop learning after we get to a certain age. It's not because we can't learn anymore.
Yeah.
I just don't believe that. I think it's more like, and I think the research shows that they'll be like IQ tapers off after 25, but I'm like, how many people are actually
Learning.
consciously going out and being like, I want to learn? I think more people just say, I don't really like learning, so I'm just not gonna do that.
When you're not forced to learn, like in a classroom setting or, you know, to get a degree or something like that, I think most people just don't want to open a book either.
Yeah.
And that's like another great source of like learning stuff.
Well, I was talking with somebody earlier. He was like, hey man, I'm going through this entrepreneurial thing and I feel like I'm not making progress. Like, I did get a new account. I am like learning, but it just doesn't feel like I'm moving.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I think we miss that learning doesn't always feel good. It's the product of learning that feels good. Like the fruits of our labor is what we a lot of times do things for, but the actual process, the labor process, isn't gonna feel good. If you go to the gym and you work out, the workout doesn't feel great. It's the endorphins after, and then the eventual progress towards getting the physique you like, or the healthy state, or like the clarity of mind that you get, but it's not the actual labor or the work that
exactly. And that's, so many people want that overnight success where they can just sleep through the hard work and just say, oh yeah, I woke up and everything was handed to me.
These people, they don't understand. No, but like I 100%, it's like that. But I think it's also like knowing that. I might have taken for granted that that's not something that people recognize as progress because it doesn't feel like that. Like you almost have to reframe it and be like, oh, that's why I'm doing it. And I think the cool thing about reframing it is your body eventually catches up and looks forward to it. Yeah. And I don't hear people talk about that as much. They're just like, just fall in love with the pain, the suffering. And it's about more than that. I think it's like our bodies acclimate, and then when we start to understand why, it's something that you look forward to, and you feel worse about not doing.
Yeah, and it's also something where it's like you should be pushing yourself. Just because you're not in a classroom setting, just because you don't have to learn anything, there's so many topics and information out there that you can just learn anything you want, and that's going to be progress. Yeah, you know, so that you're not just staying stale.
Yeah. Stale ass. But yeah, like education is super important, and I think it's probably a good jump off point to talk about the founder that we're going to be learning a little bit more about today. Yeah, Robert
F. Smith.
Hey!
Yeah, he's what does he do again? He's Vista.
Yeah, he's
Equity, right? Vista
Equity Partners.
Yeah,
the founder of I think chairman CEO of Vista Equity Partners, which was founded in 2000. Yep. The way that I learned about him, I've heard his name in the headlines as being rich black guy, and I of course heard about when he paid the tuition bill for the graduates of Morehouse. Came to $34 million
for like 400 people, or something like that.
You know,
which you would love to be in that graduating class.
Yo, I'd be like, what?
But not a year before, not a year after.
You're about to pay everything up? I don't know why these commencement speakers that are super rich don't do this every time. Like, I'm looking at that, then I look at, of course, R.I.P. Steve Jobs, who gave a great commencement speech that's in the lore right now, but he probably could have paid off some some bills. But it was cool because he said that a big part of it is obviously like just giving back to the community. Mm-hmm. But he also talked about these are people that have taken this step to invest in themselves. Their families might have taken out loans, and so that's a good thing. And so if you have the means to encourage it, that's an even better thing, because it lets people know that when you take chances on yourself, it can lead to things that you never expected.
And I think a lot of that shows up in his life too, right? Where his parents kind of set his framework up very early in life.
Yeah.
To want to seek out that education, to seek out the ways to improve yourself.
Yeah.
You know, beyond what you have currently.
Yeah. Both his parents were educators, elementary school teachers, and they comes from a lineage of people that like all went to school. I think 4 generations back.
Wow.
He had college graduates.
And he's like 60, right?
Yeah.
So that's a very impressive lineage of college attending family members.
Yeah, especially like just calling it out as a black family,
Yes.
like having those many people be educated. And I think even with school today, we don't realize how important education is. And because I think it gets like there's the connotations and then there's like the actuality of it. I look at learning as changing behavior. So when you're going to school, especially when you get to like the college ranks, it's how do you behave in certain circumstances so that way you can get the results that you want. And if you don't, how do you get information that can then let you become more intentional about how you can change your behavior to get the results that you want. It's really just like operating your body.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's probably a discussion that we can get into at a later date. So Robert Smith, he grew up in a household that really valued education, valued community, valued using people in the area to learn different things. I was watching this interview with Tony Robbins and him where he was talking about his current business, but he also talked about his origin story.
Right.
And that was super intriguing because very early on, he had this insatiable curiosity and he was also introduced to computers at a really early age.
That helps.
And that opened up so many doors for him. I mean, yeah, it definitely helps, right? That's the story behind Zuckerberg. There's a story behind Bill Gates, famously. But with Smith,
and actually, like, I resonate with that.
Right.
Like, I was introduced to computers, literally, in my first couple years. Like, my dad, being in the computer science world, it was just kind of normal for me to get into that. And I actually haven't, or I didn't, right, when I was younger, see that as abnormal. But now that I'm an adult, it's very obvious to me that, like, wow, I had the access to that kind of technology and education at such an early age that it definitely helps, right? Because if you don't have that, going into something that you don't know anything about, it's almost like trying to figure out like chemistry and not having anybody around you that does chemistry.
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest things to break into unless you're really passionate about it.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that if you can find something that interests you at a very early age, that compounding growth really starts to show.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like you look at it right now, you're in like the tech space, worked for big tech companies, started your own tech company. It's like, oh yeah, I guess it does kind of make sense that like that early inspiration helped. And me, the same. I was less interested at an earlier age. I mean, I took classes here and there. My dad he retired recently. Networking and cybersecurity to high school students. So the stuff was around. I was never intimidated by it. I just didn't jump on right away.
Right.
I was more on the economics, finance side, and like sports, arts, etc. But even still, it's like that influence is there, and I look around, and I'm like, okay, I see the through line. Like I see how that kind of set up a trajectory.
Even the access to education and the way that framework allows you to like learn something and get better over time is, I think, something that some people don't even have that.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to be like the first person to try and get that started.
Because you don't really know how to navigate or where to go.
Exactly. And so there's at least some precedence there. And that always makes things easier.
Exactly. So around 16, 17 years old, he gets exposed to computers and he becomes curious about transistors and learning about them. He finds out that there's a local Bell Labs in his hometown. He's from Colorado.
Yep.
And he calls them up and says, "Hey, can I get an internship here?" They say it's open to juniors and seniors. They say juniors and seniors in college. He goes, "Close enough," and they say you're too young. So
he was a junior in high school.
17 years old, trying to get this internship. He calls every day for 2 weeks. They eventually stop answering his calls. Calls every Monday for 5 months, and eventually they're like, "Okay, we had a spot open up. You seem pretty persistent. We'll interview you, but we're not going to guarantee you this internship."
Right.
He goes there. I guess he impresses them, and he ends up getting that summer internship. And he gets roomed with somebody who is very prolific in what he's doing. And so that leads to him basically getting a mentor in the space of of um, of this area. I don't know what specifically the mentorship was. I don't know if it was directly related to computing, but it was obviously a mentorship at Bell Labs with a guy who had several patents under his name and multiple inventions working as his mentor.
And this was like at the start of computing.
Yeah.
Like the very first or second transistors.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like we have now where you have a smartphone in your pocket.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So he really developed his ability to problem solve there because his mentor would give him the breadcrumbs and then basically push him to go and use the resources around him, the library, etc., to find answers to his problems.
Yeah.
Imagine if he said, I mean, I just don't really feel like going to the library. Can you just tell me? That might have actually been more reasonable than, oh, I don't really feel like using Google.
Well, what I think probably happened is some of those juniors and seniors in college were probably doing that. They're probably like, well, you're the mentor. You can just tell me.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like Googling this.
Because he did say that he ended up coming up with like the #1 project out of his whole group and beat out
those other
juniors and seniors in college. And so he really credits that moment to his mentor. So mentors are really important.
Oh yeah.
And not just in another interview I saw, this other person was saying, I completely agree. And not in he said, the guy that was interviewing Robert Smith in this other interview was like, I didn't use the M word around my mentors, but I'm always asking for game. Like, what would you do in this situation? And you find that a lot of people are willing to give out the tidbits that actually lead you to get that M word.
Mm-hmm.
M word being money.
Yes.
But it's like, but if you're asking just for money from a mentor type relationship, I think it's one of those things where there's so much more valuable things that you can get. It's the whole teach a person to fish.
Yep.
You could just ask for the fish, but if you ask them to teach you how to fish, then you can last a lifetime.
Yep.
And so he really credits that to that moment, and I think it's also something that we've been able to like learn from, and it's just cool to see somebody who's that well off and that successful leaving traces of his key moments in his life.
Yep. I think that like eventually got him to a spot where I think he went to Cornell.
Yeah.
For, was it chemistry or microbiology or something like that?
Chemical engineering.
Yeah, okay. Chemical engineering. Yeah, that's not a very, that's not a community college. Cornell is very prestigious.
No, and that's not a soft degree.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a very STEM, very.
Yeah. He talks
heavy.
about it like alchemy. He was like chemical engineering. He's like, in my mind, is like alchemy. You're transforming materials, and I was like, oh, well, that's kind of dope.
That's interesting. I heard a side comment that Sir Isaac Newton, had hundreds of notes and books that were kept private for many years on alchemy.
Really?
Because none of his pupils wanted to release it for fear of that clouding some of his great work that he did in calculus and all that other stuff.
It can be really easy to step into the mystical when you frame sciences like that, but in all honesty, chemistry does have its roots in alchemy.
Right.
And it's also...
Well, maybe the other way around, right? Alchemy probably has roots in chemistry.
Well, but the alchemy as a field was there, like they were practicing alchemy before it became like a modern scientific, But the premise still being the same is like they're still, working with chemicals and engineering. But anyway, so the thing that's like so interesting is he talks about chemistry and how they have these states of disequilibrium and equilibrium.
Right.
And he overlays that with how he reads his financial markets and areas of opportunity now. Because after he graduated from Cornell, he, I believe, went to work in the financial space. And I don't know the specific trajectory, but he ended up working in the financial markets. And
I know he went back to get his MBA and then eventually found himself a job at Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
Where he was in their technology sector, and I believe became the first senior investment banker in their technology group as an African American. And like that exposure of how those markets work, how private equity works, how deals get made, is I think what got him to launch and to be where he's at today with Vista.
Yeah,
you
with
know,
Vista Equity Partners. And yeah, so like getting to that space is first and foremost like one thing. Like when you go and you say, I'm gonna go and get my chemical engineering degree, that's one thing. And then you go back and you get your MBA, that's another thing. But then taking the things that you've learned from each field and overlaying that is where things become really, really interesting.
That's the compounding that we talk about all the time on here.
Yeah, interest compounds.
Yes.
And it creates this ability to see different markets or see the same thing from different perspectives. So the thing that I was talking about before is he looks at these equilibrium states and he talks about looking at financial markets through that pattern.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this in the last episode where we said in economics there's equilibrium, and people usually take that as gospel, like, hey, that's the science. But in reality, they're more reference points.
Right.
And they stick, then the reference points, they also stick out and show the state of whatever you're looking at. If you're looking at a chemical solution, I'm not a chemical engineer, but I'm imagining that it lets you know, okay, that's like ideal. It might not be like that ever, but there are frequent moments of it, or there are moments that you have those states and you can induce them and you can take advantage of them. In the financial space, I look at that as more opportunity markers where you can be like, oh, we're in a disequilibrium state. Things are shaking up, but we're going to get to a point where things might settle down a little bit until we get the next wave of technology or whatever's introduced that's going to shake things up again.
Yep. And then being able to spot those opportunities and put your money there is, I think, how you get those outsized returns.
And that's like, it's investing, right? Like he talks about that. He's like, at one point he was like, invest in yourself. I think I wrote this down right here. He was like, invest in yourself, invest in your education first, invest in understanding the market you want to participate in, and then invest in ensuring you have the skills to navigate that market.
Yeah, I mean that's gold right there. That's game.
Yeah, and that's the way that you want to go. And another thing that he often talks about is the numbers, and I think that's probably like the math in him, and like the scientist, the engineer in him.
Yeah.
But he talks about the numbers around investment in a way that's breeds clarity. He talks a lot about facts and fact patterns.
Oh yeah.
When he's exploring new markets, because what he does right now, we haven't made this super clear, but we have touched on it, is he's in the private equity market, and so he works a lot in mergers and acquisitions and investments of businesses and companies, and he gets involved through private equity. Rehabilitates them using his knowledge of technology, and then either keeps them and keeps his investment in them, it continues to grow them, or sells them for a markup. And so it's just like the kids with their M&Ms. You buy them at a lower amount, you sell them for a higher amount, and you might package them differently, but the premise still stays the same. It's like just business in another domain.
And there's a lot of people that do that, but he's proven through his track record to be one of the best.
Yeah.
And that's what's special, right? Is there's a lot of private equity people out there that are just not really the kind of people you want to get into business with.
Yeah.
Where Robert is someone you would want on your team.
Well, he's really leveraging his ability and understanding of technology. Like the first thing that they did is, I think in 2000 is when the company was founded, and they raised like $1 billion in
2000, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, in assets under management to go on this private equity endeavor. And this is after he's already established a track record at Goldman Sachs and other ventures that he's gone through. So he raised a ton of money, and now they manage over 100 billion in assets. And so that's 100x
in 25 years,
right?
Yeah.
And each year and this is why he's well known, is he's had a 30% return year over year for like 20 years. Yeah. And I think he was saying that the ROI for the businesses that he's invested in all together, because I think there's 80 companies that he owns under the Vista Equity Partners company, is the what was I saying? The amount that the ROI has been over 625%.
Oh wow! Since
over across his companies.
625%
ROI. So
Damn.
ROI is return on investment, and it's basically how much money are we investing and what's our return? How much are we actually receiving back based off of the amount that we invested?
Right.
And that's 625%.
Yeah.
So if I put in $100, we're walking away with 625.
That is insane. That's insane.
Yeah, and so that's very effective. And you look at him, he's a sharp guy. He's about his business, you can tell.
Oh, yeah.
You know, kingpin energy.
There is a little bit of like, I wouldn't want to be on his bad side. But I also feel like some of that is motivation probably for his team to make sure they get everything right the first time.
Yeah.
You know, and that nobody's missing a beat.
Mm-hmm. He's so good at spotting the opportunities. So they really made a mark in the business space, going from the on-prem to SaaS. Like they had this factory, and he talks about this, where factory, I'm sure it's not like an actual, but factory in the sense where they transform raw materials of business into something new by introducing software. And so I've actually done a project like that for a company before I was working at Rocket. We went to a company and we helped them migrate to the cloud, and we helped them turn some of their on-premise solutions into something that was more software based and lower cost. And that's just, it improves efficiencies, and the numbers just show that. But then what he's doing now is he's doing the same play, the same gambit, but he's taking SaaS businesses and introducing agentic capabilities.
That's interesting. I think feels like there's an underlying theme here of just like trailblazing. Like, because agentic stuff only has happened in the last, 2 years?
Yeah.
And he's getting older, he's over 60. To be able to be on top of your game for that long.
Yeah.
To be, just the whole season of trailblazing throughout his life. I think that's incredible.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's 62, 20, 42, 37 about is when he started the Vista Equity Partners. Wow. And like to even then still be like, I want to learn and follow my curiosity is, I think, a staple. It's one of those patterns that we see in all of these.
Yeah, how many 60-year-olds do you see talking about agentic workflows?
Yeah, and try to be an expert. And it's so cool when he talks about it, because he breaks down how he uses it for his health. He's like, we're using AI to help like keep me healthy, but then also he uses it to prepare for presentations and discussions that he has. And so it's cool when you hear somebody like that diving in and being like, I'm trying to learn as much as I can about this.
Yeah.
But it's also funny when you hear somebody who's like 30 or like 25 being like, I'm so old, I can't learn anything else.
I don't like to Google things.
I don't like to Google things. I don't want to learn. Like, there's a difference. And it's like that drive right there is the thing that makes people that separates people like him from the other people.
Yeah, 100%. And that you can see that with his returns and the life that he's able to shape.
Mm-hmm. So the whole fact-based patterns thing is another thing that really caught my attention, because he was saying like fact patterns as a way to one of the most important things is to gather as many facts as possible, and that's part of the scientific approach. Facts. But it reminded me of another founder, David Ogilvy, who's in the marketing space, a completely different domain, but shares that same conviction around gathering as many facts as possible. He says the good ones just know more.
Oh yeah.
Like the good ones know more, and facts being at the center of marketing campaigns is another thing. It's like that there's a truth behind a fact. We've talked about that here way back when we were talking about stories and stuff like that, but it's cool to see that thread come up in a different arena, or maybe the same arena but in a different
it's a different
field,
flavor,
right?
It's a different flavor of the same ice cream. Just because I think both of those people are wildly successful. And it would be stupid of us not to pinpoint and at least showcase the fact that this is a common thread. Right? Like, and if you are looking to kind of get that kind of level of success, this is the kind of stuff that you should be listening to.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that you should be trying to practice.
Well, we see patterns too amongst all of the people. They're doing things in a way that's similar, even if it's not obvious. And I think when you do enough digging, there's so much power in reading and learning about the stories of other people, because it's easier to resonate. Like Charlie Munger, RIP, is somebody who talked a lot about learning through the stories of other people in industry.
Yeah.
In your industries, and reading biographies, and even the Founders Podcast, which I think this is taking inspiration from. There's nuggets there. You can read a book and it can change the whole trajectory of your life, because you have this model that lets you know what's capable and what we're capable of.
And it also can compress the time you need to learn something. If you don't actually have to touch the paint to make sure it's dry, or you don't actually have to burn yourself on the stove, if you can read a book and learn from somebody else's experiences, that is super powerful, because then you don't have to spend the time doing it yourself. Obviously that works for some things, not everything. But it is a superpower.
Another thing that really stuck out to me in doing some digging on him is two aspects of business. One is decision making, and two is deal making.
What about those?
And it started to, so I've heard that from multiple people. They don't really tell you in business school, hey, this is the unit that you want to really measure deals. They talk about how to measure all of these things, but without that core anchor, it can get lost on what you're trying to do. I think that's something that you learn through like more apprenticeships, or being around people where they're like, hey, we're trying to organize this deal, get this person what they want, also make sure that we get what we want, but it's not explicitly said. But when you hear people talk, you hear people use words over and over again, and you start to see different patterns, and it's like, oh, okay, that's what they're looking at. Is they're looking at how you can construct a deal to get a profitable outcome for as many people as possible. How do we create these win-wins? Well, we have to make a deal. We have to agree on either actions that are going to be taken, or agree on terms and conditions of what we're going to be doing. And so that whole idea of highlighting that deal and everything around it is such a valuable skill in business that I think can get overlooked. I think the only person that really talked about that is Trump.
Making deals.
Better or worse, the art of the deal.
Right.
And because of who he is, there's so much that probably gets overlooked. But when you come down to it in business, it's like, that's really what it is. It's like, we create offers to be able to make deals. And so it's like, how do you create something that is appealing to somebody else or compels somebody else? And that's really the magic of business, and the art of business is how you make a deal and how you get somebody to see that deal in a way that you want. And facts really help. Like, facts help create a real, honest view of reality. And that is, I think, necessary for deal making. But bringing it back to Robert Smith, is I just heard him talk a lot about that in the interviews that I had watched of him.
He's done a lot of deals. Like, he's definitely been
private equity. That's the whole thing. It's like, you want to buy your company. Are you going to give us your company? And it's like, well, there's emotional ties to it. There's like a whole bunch of things. There's histories, and then
evaluation.
And so it's like all of those things go into the number. I have a friend who's working in private equity, and he talks about when he sits down, he's like, some people just have a number in their head. It might not even be the most profitable number, but it's just the number in their head that they feel comfortable with. And so taking that stuff into account, in-person meeting versus not meeting in person, like those things matter in deal making. So being in this private equity group, it's like, that's the nature of the business that he's dealing in.
He's a very interesting investor, founder, and business person. So I think this was like a great just kind of overview of Robert F. Smith and Vista Equity Partners and his kind of origin story. And then what I think is a truly trailblazing legacy that he is on right now, that is just going to be told for centuries.
Yeah, I mean,
about how he's able to do what he's done.
Yeah, he's Vista Equity Partners is the 4th largest enterprise software company, I believe, in the world. And obviously, like, they take a different approach. They're behind SAP, Oracle, and Microsoft. But it's a lot of it is like their approach is in private equity, and then like transforming companies that are a little bit outdated. But like what has been happening so far is like different founders kind of pop up when we learn about new founders.
Right.
And I'm imagining that we're gonna bring him up as we start to uncover other people and we start to learn more about what he's doing, and we're gonna take lessons from that and try to incorporate it into what we're doing. But yeah, man, I'm ready to go into that super secret if you are.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Peace out.
Peace.